People's Radio United.
A lot of police departments are having these like town hall things where, or a listening board where you can come and ask the police chief questions. I mean, you and I dealt with this in Minneapolis, and we actually had a lot of fun showing up and getting around the limitations they would put down so that people couldn't ask, people couldn't address real issues. Like they'd have, you have like 3 minutes and you have to ask a question. You can't talk about an issue. You have to ask a question and yada, yada, yada. And then,
one of the big ones, one of the favorite ones is, we're going to talk at you for, 45 minutes or an hour till we're like half asleep. And then you can write your question on a card and send it up. And we'll get to as many as we can, which means that they're going to flip through them and find the ones by the people that they know are adversarial and skip those suckers and talk about, here's our shiny new squad car, or here's our nice new, whatever, right? And we're here for you,
right.
And all this, so that they can, so we don't go along with that. We don't go along with that. One of the things and we do it all the time, but again, you got to have somebody that's able to take the risk. I'm kind of fearless because I frankly don't care. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know, but I'll stand up in the middle of the room, and I have done this multiple times where they have these little things with these little handouts, and here's your 3x5 index card that you can write your question on. And I'll stand up as soon as the event starts and I'll say, listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. You came here to hear from us, and you came here to answer our questions, and we are not writing them on cards. And you are not going to pick the questions that we ask. And furthermore, if we want to make a statement, we're going to make a statement. Now, you sit your asses down and you listen to the community. We just kind of just take over the event. And, sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to say, this is not how this event's going to go. It's going to go a different way. We always have flyers to hand out to educate people. And because while people are waiting for these events to start, they're reading your flyer and they're learning about, like, they're here today to talk about this new program. Let us tell you what this new program is actually about. And let us tell you why this program isn't going to work. Like tomorrow, I'm going to a conference in St. Paul that the Minneapolis what used to be Civilian Review Authority, now called the Office of Police Conduct Review, is holding, and they're going to talk about how great their model is, which is completely run by the city and the cops, even though they pretend it's civilian review. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to attend the conference, but I'm also going to be there early and hand out lots and lots and lots of flyers to all the people that attend to explain to them why the Office of Police Conduct Review is not real civilian review, and also explain to them the fact that they have 1,500 complaints in 4 years, and they have sustained and disciplined 4 of those complaints. And that is the lowest, sustain and discipline rate even possible. They have a less than a 1% sustain and discipline rate, where the national average is 7%. So it is completely ridiculous. This is completely outrageous. And so, for them to go in there and have a workshop, this is like this symposium on police accountability, and they get the first workshop talking about how great their model is. Oh, honey, I beg to differ, and I will be there to bust them out. So, and some people are going to be coming with me, of course, but basically, we have to be there and challenge this stuff, because people otherwise they go, oh, well, that sounds good, yeah, that's okay. And we're like, no, it's not okay. 1,400 complaints, 4 sustained and disciplined. Are you out of your minds? There's nothing about that says anything other than epic fail, so
right.
That's what it is. And it's all about teaching our communities and getting our communities engaged, because we teach and then they learn and then they want to be involved.
I'm really glad you mentioned how you go to these events and you flyer outside, because you kind of addressed the question I was naturally going to follow up with. How do you deal with those kind of events? And the flyering, showing up and handing out flyers, I think, is a very effective thing. I remember when in Minneapolis they had the 3 things where the police chief came out and you could ask questions and such. By the time the third one came around, they actually didn't announce it until like the day before, and then they only announced it on their website where it was going to be. And, you know, so we didn't know where it was going to be, but we found out and we showed up and we had these flyers that said, you know, and they were like really, really kind of positive sounding flyers, you know, thank you for being concerned about this issue. And here's how you can make sure that you get your questions answered. And then, you know, they're going to limit you to this and limit you to that. And here's how you get around it. And it all sounded like so nice and stuff. And people read it and, you know, they went in there and got around the bullshit.
Yeah, they did. But, you know, yeah, these people, you know, they want to do events. Yeah. And I know that the cops said to themselves, they groaned and said, oh, those people made it again, you know, but I tell you, they want to do events where they control everything about it. I'll never forget, and I know you'll remember this too, Steve, because you went through the same thing when you were living here. An organization that was a very respectful, you know, respectable type organization, not like us, you know, one of those respectable type called for an event, and they were going to have the police chief and these different other people sit on a panel and blah, blah, blah about the problems about policing in North Minneapolis. And this is in the aftermath of, you know, a lot of incidents and things that people were very conscious of. And they call for this event, and then they, you know, and the police chief says, yes, I'll be there, and blah, blah, blah. At the last minute, once they found out that people were going to be there, that were going to really challenge them, at the last minute, the police chief says, I'm not showing up, I'm canceling, because I've gotten credible threats that people are going to grab my legs. You cannot make this stuff up, man. She got a credible threat that someone was going to grab her legs. I'm like, wait a minute. She's standing on a stage with a gun on her hip, and she's worried because someone might grab her legs. You know, that was just nonsensical. Right. It was utterly ridiculous. The reason that she canceled is because we were on Facebook and through all of our other outreach and, you know, calling on people to go there and challenge her. And she didn't want to be challenged. So she comes up with this funny excuse. And then we use the Data Practices Act, which is our state's mechanism for getting public data, to get all the emails that they shared between themselves and find out, you know, because we wanted to know what this story was, right? And where they got this so-called credible evidence from and all this business. Well, or credible threat or whatever she called it. They gave us 1,500 pages largely of a lot of duplicate material so that we had to wade through it. We went through every page of it. We scanned it, went through every page of it, searched it thoroughly. There wasn't one thing in there about credible threats, about getting her legs grabbed, or any of that foolishness. It was utterly ridiculous. Nobody was going to grab your legs. What somebody was going to do is challenge your authority, and that you could not tolerate.
Right.
So that's the thing. Organize people to come to these things and get in there and challenge these people. And you know what? Here's a news flash for you. If people get up and just start talking, you know, if one person's doing it, they might be able to arrest that person. But if a bunch of people are doing it, it gets real hard for them after a while. And you just get up there and you start saying your piece. I've been at city council meetings where they're like 3 minutes and the 3 minutes is up and I keep going and they're like, your time is up. And I said, no, it's not. I listen to you. Now you'll listen to me. And you just have to do it, peeps. It takes a little bit of, intestinal fortitude, as they would call it or whatever. But you gotta do it, you know, because these people, it's always about limiting the scope of the debate, the topics to be discussed, the people to be heard from. You know, it's always like that, because then they get to look like they're doing something without actually doing something. And we shouldn't empower that in any way or tolerate it. And we should fight it at every corner that we've got to do it with.